Welcome to Middle East Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Israel scorns America's unprecedented peace plan. Israel urges FIFA to not involve football with politics after facing calls to be banned. Could the Houthis sabotage undersea cables? Egypt inflation slows again as devaluation expectations build. Yahoo Sports AM, betting boom. Israel scorns America's unprecedented peace plan. Economist. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been carrying a message of peace and negotiation to Israel, following his recent visits to Arab states in the region. Blinken is seeking to turn the catastrophe of the recent war in Gaza into an opportunity for peace. The U.S. is proposing a four-sided deal between America, Israel, the Palestinian Authority, PA, and Saudi Arabia, which would involve a practical, time-bound, irreversible path to a Palestinian state, and would offer a defense treaty and civilian nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. Arab states are also considering offering additional security assurances to Israel, which could involve more intelligence sharing and a common air defense zone. Additionally, Arab states are ready to assist the PA in reforming its governance and improving its administration. However, the path to a regional deal is not guaranteed, as it depends on Israel's willingness to agree to a Palestinian state and negotiate with Arab states. The U.S. hopes that even a temporary pause in the fighting will allow both sides to think about the day after and consider the potential for peace and negotiations. Israel urges FIFA to not involve football with politics after facing calls to be banned. Yahoo! The head of the Israeli Football Association, Neve Goldstein, has said that he is trusting FIFA not to ban Israel from world football over the country's government and military's response to the recent terrorist attacks by Hamas. A group of the game's leading figures from the Middle East have called for Israel to be thrown out of FIFA, but Goldstein said, "We are against involving politicians in football and being involved in political matters in the sport in general. Our dream is to qualify for the European Championship in 2024, and I'm looking forward to world peace." Calls for Israel to be excluded from world football have been led by Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan. Could the Houthis sabotage undersea cables? BBC. The Houthi rebels in Yemen have threatened to sabotage undersea communication cables in the Red Sea that connect Asia to Europe. The Houthis claim they have accessed maps showing the routes of the cables, which lie mostly hundreds of meters below the surface. Cutting the cables would require naval capability, potentially making it difficult for the rebels to carry out the threat. However, if Iran were to assist the Houthis, it could pose a greater risk. Iran is not likely to want to escalate the situation further, as it could result in retaliatory strikes on its own infrastructure. Egypt inflation slows again as devaluation expectations build. Bloomberg. Egyptian inflation has slowed for the fourth consecutive month, with consumer prices in urban areas increasing by an annual rate of 29.8% in January, compared to 33.7% in December. However, this respite may not last long, as expectations grow for another devaluation of the pound. Egypt is in discussions with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for a loan boost that could secure $10 billion in financing, but any deal is likely to depend on a devaluation of the pound. Economists predict a devaluation in the first quarter of this year, although there is no consensus on the timing or extent of the devaluation. Another factor that could contribute to inflation is increased consumer demand during the holy month of Ramadan, which begins on March 10. Asian Cup braces for one last surprise as Qatar face Jordan in final. Yahoo! The final of the Asian Cup will be contested by Qatar and Jordan on Saturday, with the former seeking to win the tournament for the second time in a row. Qatar defeated Iran 3-2 to reach the final, while Jordan beat South Korea 2-0. Jordan is ranked 29 places below Qatar in the FIFA rankings. Ditch the rules-based international order. Bloomberg. The term rules-based international order, RBIO, is increasingly being criticized for being hypocritical and ineffectual. The U.S. invokes it selectively and does not sign up to many international treaties. Its use by the U.S. and its allies is viewed with suspicion by countries in Africa, Asia and South America, who are being pressured into choosing sides against Russia and China. By replacing the RBIO with a focus on international law, the U.S. would be forced to hold all countries accountable to the same standards, including itself and its allies. Hamas proposes three-stage ceasefire over 135 days to release hostages. Netanyahu rejects demands. ABC. Hamas has proposed a ceasefire in Gaza lasting 4.5 months. The proposal includes the release of all hostages, Israel's withdrawal of troops from Gaza, and an agreement on ending the war. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected the ceasefire demands and pledged to continue the military offensive until achieving absolute victory. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the region in an attempt to secure a ceasefire agreement. Hamas' counterproposal does not require a guarantee of a permanent ceasefire at the outset but does require an end to the war before hostages are released. Back from the dead, Ivory Coast on verge of remarkable AFCON triumph. Yahoo! Ivory Coast is now just 90 minutes away from completing the most remarkable turnaround in major international tournament history. The victory over the Democratic Republic of Congo in the Africa Cup of Nations semi-finals has left them just one match away from the final and a chance to avenge their defeat by Nigeria in the group stage. Ivory Coast was on the verge of being the second AFCON hosts to go out in the group stage but have managed to scrape through as the last of the four best third-place teams. Reports: Israeli army kills 3 Palestinians in West Bank raid. Yahoo! 3 Palestinians have been killed during an army operation in the West Bank, according to Israeli and Palestinian reports. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, claimed that one of the men was suspected of being involved in terrorist activity and that they wanted to arrest him. The IDF also fired rockets at the house, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Ramallah. The situation in the West Bank has deteriorated significantly since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip on October 7 and more than 370 Palestinians have been killed. Hey there, folks! It's your favorite resident observer from the 6 Degrees universe, Dr. 6. I hope you're all doing splendidly. Now, let's dive into today's news. First up, we have U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Israel, where he's pushing for a four-sided peace deal involving America, Israel, the Palestinian Authority, and Saudi Arabia. It's a bold move to turn the recent war in Gaza into an opportunity for peace. However, it all hinges on Israel's willingness to negotiate and agree to a Palestinian state. Fingers crossed for some progress. Speaking of Israel, the head of the Israeli Football Association is urging FIFA not to involve football with politics. Calls to ban Israel from world football have been made by some figures in the Middle East, but Neve Goldstein is hopeful that FIFA will keep politics out of the sport. After all, his dream is to qualify for the European Championship in 2024 and, like all of us, he's looking forward to world peace. Next, we have the Houthi rebels in Yemen threatening to sabotage undersea communication cables in the Red Sea. Apparently, they claim to have access to maps showing the routes of these cables. Cutting them would be quite a feat, but if Iran were to get involved, things could get even messier. Let's hope they don't, as it could lead to more trouble in the region. Moving on to Egypt, inflation has slowed for the 4th month in a row. However, experts predict another devaluation of the pound, which might not be great for the economy. On top of that, increased consumer demand during the upcoming Ramadan could contribute to inflation. So, Egypt might be caught between a devaluation and rising prices. Tough times ahead, my friends. Now, let's talk about something a bit more lighthearted. Sports betting in the US has seen a boom since the Supreme Court's ruling in 2018. This year, a record number of US adults are expected to wager over $23 billion on the Super Bowl. And get this, you don't even have to leave your couch to place a bet in most states. It's all about convenience, my friends. Just remember to gamble responsibly. On the other side of the world, we have the Asian Cup final between Qatar and Jordan. Qatar is aiming to win the tournament for the 2nd time in a row, while Jordan is hoping to cause an upset. This is what makes sports so exciting, the underdogs defying the odds. Let's see if Jordan can pull off a surprise victory. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The term rules-based international order is increasingly being criticized for being hypocritical and ineffectual. The US and its allies use it selectively, which doesn't sit well with many countries. Instead, the focus should be on international law, holding all countries accountable to the same standards. It's time for a change, folks. In the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, Hamas has proposed a ceasefire lasting 4.5 months. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected the demands and is determined to achieve absolute victory. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is working to secure a ceasefire agreement, but the road to peace is bumpy. Let's hope for a breakthrough soon. And finally, Ivory Coast is on the verge of completing a remarkable turnaround in the Africa Cup of Nations. After being on the brink of elimination in the group stage, they've fought their way to the semi-finals. Can they go all the way and lift the trophy? Only time will tell. Well, folks, that's all the news for today. Remember, your thoughts and opinions matter too. So, what do you think about these stories? Share your ideas, ask questions, and let's get the discussion going. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the 6 Degrees universe. Cheers! Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.